Philippa, how lovely to see you. You're looking absolutely radiant. Philippa and I have only actually met once, and that was in the handing over of the boxes of the books, which was a bit of a hurried affair. But we've had a sort of internet relationship as part of all of this. I guess I did want to celebrate the fact that you've worked incredibly hard on getting this book, which I have all over the place. So if any of you haven't bought it, you can see how beautiful it looks. I guess, Philippa, I wanted to know a little bit about why this story and why now?
Well, why this story started 10 years ago. Well, me writing it down 10 years ago. And I wrote it down for 3 reasons, really. One is that both my parents had dementia. And having seen what that's like and you can't remember anything, I thought I'd better get writing. Also, my grandchildren, I don't think know anything about this period in my life. And so I thought, well, you know, they may have children, this may be something we could pass on. But the third reason really was for women, and I can see Tahira there, and we have worked on the Women's Domestic Abuse Helpline. I worked there for 12 years, and it's really about encouraging women. You can do things. You know, just because you're a woman doesn't mean to say that you can't go and live your dream. So that was really, you know, the third reason.
And why now?
Well, the now was the lockdown. I had written most of part 1, which was when I bought the boat and sailed around the Caribbean for a year. And Jill was the only person who read it. I was very wary of this. You know, I didn't have confidence in what I was doing, that anyone would want to read it. I'd written so much stuff in the past and put it in the bin. This was the first thing I didn't. And Jill read the early draft 10 years ago and said it was good and encouraged me. And of course, subsequently, she introduced me to you, Anne. So that was good. But I really started in lockdown. I thought this is an opportunity for me to finish it. And I have a couple of friends in the walking group, Tova, who did my photograph, and Faggy, who did a bit of a review for me. And she told me she was just publishing her 3rd book on Amazon, self-publishing. So my ears pricked up and I thought maybe I could do this. So this was the last walk we did before lockdown. So I thought, right, okay, I shall go home and get this out on the memory stick and just see whether I can put it together as a book. So that started, when did lockdown start? About 23rd of March. And I worked through it, and I worked through the diaries of the Atlantic crossings until I got to about May, when I thought I thought I'd written the book. And when I was put in touch with Anne by Jill, I had written then 38,000 words. And Anne said, send it to me and I'll read it. So I Dropboxed it through. I'm learning an awful lot about computer things. And I think you took about 10 days to read it. Did you, Anne? Yeah.
I probably got back to you within 10 days, yes. Yeah.
And in the meantime, I paced the flat and started on the next book because I had to do something. And then from that 38,000 words, when we arranged that we would work together and did a deal, Anne just encouraged me with sort of quite general things like expand and explain and stuff like that. So that was May, I think. I then thought, right, I want to get this done. and I think I finished it by middle of June, and I'd then done 66,000 words, so it got fatter.
I think for me it was a cracking read when you first sent it through, and I felt, and I don't know if this is a woman thing, I wanted to encourage you to tell me more about you, because I knew when people read a book like this, it's you they're interested in. It's not just the fact that you buy a boat and you go off sailing, it's the nuts and bolts of you. And I knew from talking to you that you weren't just some woman who on a whim thought, I've got a bit of money, I'll buy a boat. I knew there was more to it. And that's what I find particularly interesting. I mean, you could have bought a car and driven across Europe or whatever. So that's why I encouraged you to put more. There were things that you skimmed over that had the fact that a woman couldn't be on a mortgage back in the dark ages. Those little nuggets of information that blew my mind as someone born in 1964 that I think really need documenting.
Okay, yeah. Well, that certainly, you know, encouraged me to put more things down.
And you had other readers, I think, didn't you, after Jill? You had other people who supported you.
Only when I'd done the first few chapters, and I really wanted to test out my Dropbox to see if I could work it. So I sent I think the first 4 chapters to 2 friends, Trisha and Howard, in the walking group, neither of whom are here today, sadly. But they just read the first 4 chapters and said, you know, this is good, I wanted to know what happened next. So I carried on. Oh, and yes, and there was John as well. He said something about that I was all into my masculine side and I needed to put in my feminine side. And that was before I'd done the expand and explain bit that you'd asked me.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah. Is now a good time to hear a little bit?
If you like, yes.
I would love to.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, away you go.
There's no... Right, okay. So the first bit I'm going to read is about how scary things could get and did get. For those of you who haven't read the book, I bought the boat in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands simply because that was where I found one. But I wanted to be based in Bequia, which was 350 miles south. So I needed to get the boat sailed down there. And I needed 3 things for this. I needed the boat to be ready. I had a lot of problems with the engine, so great frustration there. I needed crew to help me sail down because I didn't know anything about sailing at the time, and so couldn't do that. And I needed the right weather. And these 3 things, I mean, poor old Kieran was actually in Bequia waiting for me all over Christmas. Hello, Kieran. And I think people didn't understand what we were doing and how long it took me to get down. Anyway, so I'll just read you the bit about setting out from Tortola then. So we were finally going, and this was on the 5th of January, 1999. All our documents presented and checked out for departure. So Jack as captain and Lou as crew and me as the owner. The dinghy was deflated, folded and stowed on deck. The weather was still rough, so we'd hoped that the dinghy would prevent some of the worst of the waves coming over into the cockpit. There was no bimini cover or spray hood, so Jack hinged the sun awning forwards and we tied it down so that you could see underneath it but get some protection from the spray. The plan was to make an overnight trip from Tortola to St. Martin, where we would go to a duty-free chandlery with a very large shopping list. So we set off in the afternoon, and when it was getting dark, Jack said we would take 3-hour shifts each while the others tried to sleep. He put me on the first watch to see if I could steer a compass course. Having discovered that I could, he went down below. I was terrified. The weather was still fairly rough. I was wearing my bright yellow, new, cheap waterproofs, tops and bottoms, bare feet, because this is the Caribbean, and no point in wearing shoes, which will quickly get soaked in salt water. Clipped on with a harness, I sat, outwardly calm and with great concentration, steering the course I'd been given. But inwardly, I was very frightened as the seas rose and fell alarmingly, with the boat heeling over in the waves. As well as keeping to course, I had to constantly scan the horizon for other boats or strange objects in the water which could be a hazard. Containers occasionally fell off container ships and could do major damage to a yacht which ran into them. Depending on their contents, they could be mainly under the water like icebergs. Cruise ships were enormous and towered over us, and they were brightly lit and came up behind us, as well as in front. Lou told me to do a 360-degree scan to avoid being run down. So when relieved from my 3-hour shift, I went below and tried to sleep. I was on the bottom bunk in the main salon, so that when I woke up, I could put my hand on the cabin floor to see if it was dry. I'd not been to sea in Moonbow before and was unsure of her watertight capabilities. However, all was well, and the hulls had not leaked. Dawn is always the most wonderful thing on a boat. If you're not on watch, you will generally get up anyway to see the dawn and put the kettle on. Chris is going, I think. Or he's waving. No, he's waving. He's waving about dawn on boats, right. Everything seems less scary in the daylight and when there are other people to talk to. We were on course and could see St. Martin, and I was very relieved.
Thank you. Thank you. It struck me the way that you wrote, actually. You made very light of some of the difficulties that befell you. Do you think that's because that's your nature, or was it a deliberate thing that you wanted the writing not to be full of difficulties and make it more positive, or is that just the way you approached it when it actually happened?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, really. I'm a very positive person. I'm not someone who dwells on problems. You know, problems are just there to be overcome, really. And also, I don't tend to outwardly show a lot of what I'm feeling. So, you know, Lou and Jack didn't know me very well. I didn't know them. They were doing a job. They were sailing me down. They didn't know that I'd had flying experience, so I could steer a compass course. And they were a bit wary about, you know, putting me on for the first watch. But I wasn't going to show them that I was worried at all. There's a bit I didn't read there about in the morning when Lou and Jack, who were very experienced sailors, were discussing the wild weather in the night. I was a bit relieved because I had nothing to compare it with. And I thought it was pretty wild.
Brilliant. So, in terms of the process of writing again then, was it an easy decision to just write it in a sort of chronological way? Was it important to you to do it in that way?
Yes, definitely. I didn't do, the first part wasn't written from a diary at all. I didn't do a diary. I was just living on the boat and I just remembered everything and wrote it all down. There's loads of stuff I haven't remembered. I have met people since who say, oh, do you remember when we did so-and-so? No, I didn't remember that. Judy, who I don't think is here tonight, she came out and stayed with me, and we'd sailed down to Cannes to take a couple of people from the Compass, Wilfred and Nicola, down to report on the regatta. And apparently we sailed in the regatta. I didn't remember this at all, but Judy told me it did. So there's always stuff, you know, that one person will remember and somebody else will remember something different.
And was there a time, it struck me again when I was reading, I think it was when I maybe read the first draft with you, was there a time when people actually said, Philippa, this is ridiculous, don't do it?
Oh, lots, absolutely lots, yes. But mainly people in England. I think I put that in the book. People told me I was mad and what did I know about sailing? And I said, not a lot really. But, you know, I thought I'd give it a go. And the difference between English people are often quite down on people. They don't like success, whereas American people say good on you and you've got chutzpah and all this stuff. But people who knew me, who know that I tend to go off and do mad things, knew that I'd be okay. Whereas some people, they almost want you to fail. So there is that, you know, people are different.
And did you feel, I remember reading through where you, on more than one occasion, you referenced, oh, my father was in a care home, he was well looked after, oh, my daughters were settled, almost as if I got the sense that there was perhaps disapproval from people and you felt you had to justify yourself, which again resonated with me as a woman, because I feel my whole life I have to justify why I want to do things.
Yes, possibly, but also women who have families are always very busy, and you know, you have parents and they can get elderly and need some care. So you're quite often doing a lot of caring for other people, as you say. But I just felt this was an opportunity. And I think I said this at the end of the book, that when I came back from my 2 years in the Caribbean and the Atlantic, it was June of 2000. And the following year, my father had a stroke and died. My first grandson, Arthur, who's here tonight, was born. And then after that, I had one grandchild a year for 4 years. So had I left that, you know, decide to escape, I maybe wouldn't have escaped. I'd have thought, I can't go, you know, I've got other commitments in the family. So it really was, it was a window of opportunity and I was very grateful for it and I had a lovely time.
Well, I've had a lovely time reading about it. It brought, because I did a bit of a bonkers sailing trip for someone back end of the 80s, I think. So it made me chuckle. There were lots of memories there of the way that you just, yeah, you do pad around barefoot doing things that you wouldn't normally do. What was scarier, just taking the leap and buying a boat and sailing round, or deciding you do the book yourself?
Oh, doing the book wasn't scary at all. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend everybody writes a book. They say everybody's got a story. And it was therapeutic in lockdown. I loved it. I find it almost compulsive because I'm writing the next one now and I enjoy sitting down at the laptop and typing away. It's fun.
Who was your, I'm looking at your acknowledgements here. There was someone who sort of held your hand. Was that John, who advised on everything from my literary style to my computer skills? Is John in the house today or no?
No, he's not. He's on holiday in a camper van. Well, he said he was. I assumed he went. No, that was right at the beginning because really my computer skills were appalling. And I felt really bad about ringing him up and saying, how do I do this, you know, or this copy and paste stuff, or Anne says, just drop that into there. And I think, I can't do this. You know, people of my age, I'm afraid, are not necessarily very computer skilled, but I have learned so much. And after a bit, I realized I couldn't keep asking John when he told me all about Dropbox and, you know, copy and paste. I thought, no, I've got to do this on my own. And I have spent a lot of time of frustration with computers, just saying, I'm going to do it. And if I just work things out, and it will happen. But I remember when I had to send the whole thing to you, and I had to amalgamate it all together. And I lost it at one point. And it was terrible. So those are the things I can't do, the computer things. I can happily write a book. That's easy.
I love the fact that I would say something and then I'd get an email saying, oh, I can't work out to do whatever it is. And then by the time I'd read the email and I was about to reply, it would go bing, and you would go, I've found out how to do it now, which was brilliant, which was so like you are about getting on a boat and sailing around the Caribbean, really. Because by the time you wait for someone to help, you might as well have done it yourself.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So, would you read another little bit for me, or for us?
Yes, the other little bit is, because when I started writing this, you said to me, I want contrast between the hard graft and the high jinks, which I rather liked. So this is a bit of high jinks, but it comes with scary bits too. So after we'd done that first night to St. Martin, and then after staying there, we were moving on to Beckway. We had intended to do it just in one run, you know, with overnights and everything. But the weather was bad again. So after 2 nights in St. Martin, we sailed on south. The weather was still a little wild, and although we'd planned to travel down in one hit, Jack decided to anchor off St. Kitts overnight in the lee of the island. It was a wise decision, as we managed to get some sleep in the calm bay. However, the next morning after breakfast, we set off again and emerged from the shelter of the bay into another howling gale. I was thrown across the cockpit and against the table, which left a large bruise from hip to knee. We turned round and went back to the bay. So there we were, again, anchored in an idyllic bay of Nevis, waiting for the weather to improve. The dinghy and outboard were stored for travel, so we decided to swim ashore to go to an attractive bar which we could see in the distance. Money and cigarettes were taken in a plastic screw-top container which went round the neck on a string. We were anchored a fair way out in the bay, so I asked Jack and Lou to limit my beer intake to 2 so that I would be capable of swimming back to the boat. After 2 beers, we were ready to leave when everyone in the bar was rounded up to attend a wedding on the beach. We tried to decline, citing our dress or undress because we were in swimmers, or lack of time. But really, it was not wanting to swim back to the boat in an inebriated condition. However, the 3 of us decided to seize the day and go to the wedding. The bride wore a short white dress, the groom wore shorts and a t-shirt, all in bare feet. It was a simple, direct and lovely ceremony. Afterwards, everyone had champagne. What a great way to get married. It was the only wedding I've ever been to in a bikini. As the sun set, we realised we'd better make tracks back to Moonmo, who was bobbing patiently at anchor in the bay. Unfortunately, all my resolutions of not drinking much had been broken. But hey, it's not every day you get such a wonderful chance.
Lovely, thank you, thank you. I wondered if I unmute everybody, it would be lovely to hear from some of you about, I know I would love to hear from Kieran. I know you, we weren't sure if you'd make it, Kieran, so it's lovely that you're here. I'm going to unmute. If you'd like to ask Philippa a question, speak or wave your hand. Where is Kieran? Shall I put me back on gallery and I can see where he is? There you are. So Kieran, am I all right to put you on the spot and ask questions about Philippa?
Yes.
She's very frank throughout the book about the relationship she had with all these various sailing types, whether she was crewing or they were crewing for her. So is she as frank when you're there with her as she is when she's writing about it?
So definitely more so. I thought she was quite restrained in the book.
That's true.
And are there any embarrassing stories that she's not included in the book?
Very many.
Because so, is there a possibility we could do like a second edition with the edited highlights in there in the back?
I'm not sure if they'd be appreciated. No, there were some fun and interesting times, a lot of hijinks. As Philippa has alluded to, a lot of scary moments when two beginner sailors, as both of us were in situations that were fairly scary. The nature and the weather out there, well, mainly sunny, once or twice it got a bit scary.
What's your fondest memory of those trips?
For me, it was sailing into Tobago Keys. I think it's got to be one of the most amazing vistas. You approach what looks like an island, and Philippa is very careful on the chart. There's a very specific way to get into there, and as you arrive, it becomes 4 separate islands with a big lagoon in the middle of a beautiful wide sea.
There he is. Here.
Sorry. And I just found that we did it 4 or 5 times with various different people. It was just an incredible thing to behold.
And have you done much sailing since? Is that something you've kept up over the years?
I have to say that one of the things I didn't enjoy too much was racing when I was out in the Caribbean. But on coming back to England, I've done a few races in Solent, but not much more than that.
Well, I really enjoyed reading about you as part of the story. It was like a familiar friend coming back, because there were less successful working partnerships, I think, which made me chuckle, and I felt the restraints when she was writing. I was going to ask Jill, where is Jill? Posing as somebody else's. There you are. Jill, when you first, Philippa first let you have a read, what was it like? Was it that embarrassing thing of, oh God, this is going to be rubbish?
I have to say, first of all, it was an incredible privilege for someone to ask you to read their draft of a book. So it was an incredible honour that she wanted to share that with me. And no, I just wanted to know more on reading it. I felt that there was a much more that I wanted to know about the characters, about the situation. And I thought that there were several groups of people that would be interested in reading the book, people that were interested in sailing, people that are interested in the Caribbean, and as you say, women and the whole empowerment story behind it. So I just thought it was, I just wanted more.
I mean, I did too. It was because I do get quite a lot of manuscripts sent, and I do believe everyone has a story, and that's part of the Big White Shed ethos, is that we'll help you get it out there. But honestly, Philippa, your writing was such a joy to just, it's not literary fiction, but it was a right riveting read, and I wanted to know what was coming, and you piqued my interest so much. And I think it's important that we have those stories out and about more, So thanks, Jill, for pushing her my way. That was fantastic. Now, the neighbours, where are the neighbours? Are they, oh, Chris's iPad. Oh, and Mark and Chris, you're both in the bottom. So Chris,
Yeah, they're both there.
you're all there. So tell me, I don't know whether you all speak at once, maybe Chris's iPad. You go first and tell me where you came in to the, I hear there was a lot of gin drinking.
Well, not too much. We've got a little bit here just in case we called upon to re-celebrate. Oh, it's been very interesting, hasn't it?
Yes, very good.
Sharing. Well, actually, Philippa's incredibly calm all the way through this process, as you can imagine. And we didn't realise how much writing was going on between one Friday night gin and another Friday night gin. But great. And one quite comical aspect of it is that, so here's somebody who's interested in the Caribbean and presumably wonderful tropical vegetation. But the other neighbours have built this wonderful terrace garden out there before we moved in here. And we've been contributing plants and plants and plants. And poor Philippa's instinct is to clear the decks, and we now understand why. No tropical vegetation welcome at all out there. Is that right?
It's very nice, but it's too much. It's like Kew Gardens.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, surely.
You can't practice your sailing skills.
Mark and Chris, did you get a glimpse of the writing, or were you just off for sustenance on a Friday?
A bit of sustenance, but Mark, you did.
I had a look at the back cover.
Oh yeah.
And suggested a couple of things.
In terms
And more
of
Which were
And they're
accepted.
concentrating on Philippa more than just the story. It's, you know, there was a lot about the story, but not necessarily as personal as it perhaps needed to make it clear.
I think writing the back blurb is a really hard thing, and I think that's the thing with the whole process of the book. I kept having to say, where's Philippa? I want Philippa in this. So and it's not, I mean, I am interested in the sailing and the islands, but actually it was my lead character, and as Jill said, the other characters who you wrote so beautifully, because you didn't say much about them, but I could see them and I could hear them, and I knew how you were interacting with each other. And that's definitely what, to me, is special about the book. Right, it's not just a sailing memoir, it's so much more than that. It was fantastic. Who else? Oh, the cover, Laura, who did the cover, she's moved to Denmark. Philippa, she's moved back.
Oh, right.
So she wasn't sure if she could make it, because she was in Nottingham. But again, I've never met her, because the only cover work that I've worked on, we've done remotely. Tell us about the story of the cover, Philippa.
Oh, right. Okay. Let me just move my screen back so I can see you. Yeah, the story of the cover was interesting because I had picked on Laura because I'd seen one of the covers she'd done for The Big White Shed, which was a really simple cover for a book of poetry. And I really liked it. It was simple and sketchy, and that's what I had in mind. And so when Laura started doing stuff, I just thought, I can't cope with this. It's not what I imagined at all. But I thought it was a bit like Homer, and you know, maybe where he's all laced to the mast and everything, and all these wild sirens going on. So I could see a bit of that in it, but really I couldn't relate it to the book. And we had various discussions, didn't we? First of all, the three of us, and then you said, I'm in school teaching tomorrow, you two sort it out. So Laura and I sorted it out. And that was really good because we had phone conversations, and I said, I can't relate this to the book. But then I realized that I talk a lot in the book about a dream and living your dream. And I even talk about some weird dreams I had on boats. And I suddenly realized what this is. It is the dream. And she drew the dream, painted the dream, whatever you call it. And from then on, I was okay with it. So, you know, I don't know. People have said they like the cover. I don't know if anybody's got the opinion.
Oh, is it ill?
Yeah, it's interesting with it. I'm going to flash the cover at the camera so that people, those of you, I can't do the back to front thing on, here is the cover, ladies and gentlemen, if I can get it. Why can I not? Ah, there you go. So the idea came from you, Philippa. It was you said you wanted like an explosion with all the elements coming out.
Yes.
And that was the rockiest moment in the process for me, was when Laura had like moved on with the design and was so, she'd moved on so far with it. And then you were, because I realised you're quite stubborn, aren't you? If you don't want to do
I see everybody's grinning.
Now the darn thing won't stand up. I'm just letting Sam in. Yeah, you were. It was like you'd put the brakes on, good and proper, and was saying no, I don't like it. And I thought, oh bloody hell, what the bloody hell do I do now? Because I knew from other squads that once you've given the cover design to the designer, you kind of have to let go in a way, because I mean, my novel that I wrote, when I first saw the design for that, I was devastated because it was bright and colourful, and I thought, oh no, my book's quite dark. But now, every time I pick it up, I love it. And I have to say, every time I see these in the study, I absolutely love it. So I don't know what Laura said to you or how she did it, but by goodness, she obviously, you know, stood her ground.
I think it was my realization that it was a dream. It wasn't, you know, a depiction of the book on the front or what happened, because I kept saying, do you remember, well, this woman, she's got to be more laid back. She's got to be languishing, and she's got to have long hair trailing, and she's got to have a glass of wine and all this. And so we did gradually change her, the woman. But I kept trying to relate the woman to me, and I shouldn't have done, because it was just a dream. And when I found that was okay.
Good, and I'm very happy with it. I've got questions coming through here. Alison Mott is in the house. Now, Alison helped you work on the Kindle version, and she said you're being very modest about your skills. Alison?
Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so I think we threw Philippa a curveball of, because Kindle won't let anybody else set up the account for you. They make it really, really, basically they want you to pay them money to do it for you. So it was left to Philippa to sort all that out, and she did a fab job. And exactly the same as you said, she'd come back to me with questions. I don't know how to do such and such, and by the time I'd answered, she'd already pinged back an email saying sorted it. Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to do. She did a great job.
Fantastic, and thank you for doing the Kindle version as well.
Right,
That was,
I enjoyed it. I read it through while I was doing it. I really enjoyed reading it.
Yes, I did recommend to Arthur today on an email, that assume he got that email. I said, don't buy the book. Your mother's got it, but also you don't want to pass things around if you're in isolation. So if you download the Kindle version, you know, that's what young people do, isn't it? They read it that way.
They read them on the phones.
And also, so Becca is saying, what's the easiest way to purchase the book? Yeah, good question. These are the kind of people we wanted a book launch. People thrusting dollars at us or pounds at us. I think the easiest way, Becca, is to email Philippa or say to Philippa now, I want a copy of the book, and she'll get in touch with you. So Philippa, get in touch with Becca. She wants a copy of the book. Or maybe she wants 5 copies. I mean, Christmas is looming. What a great present that would be for someone.
No, that's great. All I need is an address to send it to. I send my bank details, and then we swap that. So money comes and book goes.
Fantastic. It would be easier. Or
so I will send to Becca.
Or they could stand on the doorstep and knock on the door and thrust money through the letterbox for you.
Well, with my little sum up machine, which you told me about, Anne, and I'm very grateful, the Ramblers started walks this week, and we had 10 people on a walk up above Hathersage and on Ian Moor. I took 2 books, which people had already ordered. One was Jessie, who's here, I've seen. The other was Imelda, who was leading the walk. And I thought, I'll just take a spare in case anybody wants one. I did 3 transactions with my little sum-up machine, and one of them was right up on the top of the mall. And Sean, who was on the walk, he said, it's not going to work up here, is it? I said, well, I don't know. Let's try it and see. And it did. So we had 3 little contactless payments on a walk.
Oh, fantastic. I love a bit of tech, me. I get so excited every time I use my little sum up. I feel like a real business person. Simon Zachary is saying, I have to go. Have you gone, Simon, already? I fear he has. I have to go. Well done, Philippa. Above my head hangs a copy of Thomas Sharp, our shared grandfather. I'm sure he'd be very proud. So there we go. There we go. Did anyone else have any questions for Philippa? I can unmute you all. You can holler at me if you'd like to.
Yes,
Muted.
Hi, Judith.
Mute.
Another cousin. I
Hello.
just want to ask what's going to be your next adventure, Philippa?
Oh, yes. I have decided now what my next adventure is, because Anne said to me, she said, do you want a photo? I said, yeah, I'd like a photo. Should I need a bit of a small bio for under the photo? Example, born in, did this, did that. And Philippa's next adventure is ... And I thought, she's not getting me like that. I don't know at this point what my next adventure is. I mean, Chris, who's here, one of the many Chris's, but Chris Smith, had encouraged me to go on Tenacious, which he has been on, the tall ship. And I have now booked myself a trip of 3 weeks with the tall ships race. This, I'm afraid, sadly, is COVID willing, because it's booked for next August. So it's sailing on Tenacious from Dunkirk to La Coruna. Have I got that right, Hugh? He's told me off with pronunciation previously. And that's 2 weeks through the Bay of Biscay, and then another week down to Lisbon. So 3 weeks. And I've signed up for it, and it all depends on the virus, doesn't it?
Well, good luck with it.
Am I unmuted? Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted.
Hi there, I'm Chris.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi. Hi there, everyone. Philippa has always loved new challenges, and it's quite interesting that she's put this challenge down in a book, which I hope you all enjoyed. One of the things about modern technology is that how long is it since we've been able to do this tonight on a Zoom thing to talk about our book and what have you. One of the great things for me is that I'm seeing people here who are far-flung bits of the family that I haven't seen for a long time, like Hugh and June and Caroline, and friends of Philippa who I've never met. So I think it's absolutely great. The book is well, as somebody who has spent a little bit of time on ships, but not a lot, really interesting. Find it incredible that anyone spends that amount of time on watch and keeps themselves sane. But I really thought it was great, and I think it's worth your while having a read of the book. Okay?
Great, I'll pay you later, Christopher. I think it's a great time. I'm going to raise my Aldi quiz and say, Philippa, you are an inspiration. It was fantastic working with you.
Sorry, we finished.
To Philippa.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you to those of you who've already bought the book, and thank you to those of you who are going to read the book. But as Anne said, people who buy the book, they buy the book because they know me. And I've got to make that leap into getting people who don't know me to buy the book. Whether that will ever happen, I don't know. I've emailed Women's Hour 3 times and they haven't replied. I mean, 3 different contacts I was given.
You want to try Radio Manchester?
Yeah, I think it's a many-pronged approach to getting your book out there. I know Alison has got some great tips on how to push your Kindle book to the far corners. It's this dratted COVID lark again, because I know that if you were out doing talks and readings, people would just line up to buy the book, because it is you that people will buy into. So, and I think it's, yes, it is that sort of can-do attitude that you've just displayed from start to finish, really. And not in a sort of ridiculous, not heeding any warnings kind of way. Like you take on everything that I've said to you about the publishing process and the writing process, you've taken on, but you've gone, yeah, okay, well, I'm doing this then. So it's that can-do attitude, I think, that will sell the book. We just need to get you in front of human beings, really. Women, they don't know what they're missing, really, do they? Any more questions from anyone? Or dark secrets about Philippa that I should know?
Just a little one from me. I don't know whether you can get me. Hi, Philippa.
Hi.
Hello, Ted. I can't see you, but I know your voice.
I'm going to put.
You can't see me? Oh.
Oh, we can see
no,
you.
I will see you. I just got to find you, you see.
Oh,
Hold on and I'll find you.
Yeah. Every time I flip it across, Anne moves it back again. So anyway, just a little bit of information for you. I have, after searching the dark recesses of our loft, I have found my flight bag, which is full of all sorts of bits of goodies and pieces. So
Great.
The bloody COVID stops me getting it to you, but somehow we'll try and arrange a meeting and I'll pass it over to you, which will be perhaps help you with your next book.
Oh, I'm great. Can I just say to Ted, you've grown a beard since I last saw you.
Oh, I have, yes. This is my lockdown challenge beard.
How long is it since I've seen you? But I knew your voice. How long is it?
15 years longer?
At least. Nice to see you, Anne. You look just the same. He's got a beard.
Oh, thank you. So do you. And when somebody said you were stubborn, they didn't really know you then.
Ted, is this Philippa's pilot life then?
Sorry?
Is this Philippa's pilot life?
This is Philippa's pilot time. This is Philippa's time in the air.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And on the ground at times when you shouldn't really be on the ground.
Anyone else, Philippa, that you've seen and are wanting to say anything to?
And I want to say hello to Arthur, who at the moment is above Ted, and just say, are you okay, Arthur? We're all worried.
I'm completely fine. No symptoms, just a little bored.
No, I didn't mean that. Have they sorted out your food and beer deliveries?
I have beer.
Great. Okay, it's all right. You can chill now.
He has beer. He has beer. It's all good. So here, I can see on the top there. Have you worked over many years with Philippa?
Philippa, I can't remember how long we worked together. Can you remember now?
Well, I was on the helpline for 12 years, but you weren't there when I started. We were in town when I started there.
Yeah.
So how long were you on the helpline, Tahira?
Oh gosh, I'm still on. I think it's been a total of nearly, 9 years. But we left together, didn't I? I went on maternity leave.
Yes.
And you left. And Philippa is so kind, and she's really practical as well. I remember when I went on maternity leave, I left really, and she said to me, Tahira, I'd like to come and see you, but I'd like to make sure when I see you I can practically help you as well. And I had 2 weeks off, or my husband had 2 weeks off, and then Philippa came the third week just to sort of make sure I had some time off for myself, help out with any jobs that I needed to do, go for tea and coffee, just stop me from feeling isolated. And I'll always remember that, Philippa. Really kind but practical as well, because everybody comes when you first have a baby and you're almost left exhausted after a while, and needing that company, and Philippa recognised that 3 weeks in, that was a really good time. So thank you.
I'd done my 3-week duty for all 4 of my grandsons.
Yeah.
From either of my daughters, if they wish to say anything, Sam or Melanie.
I'm looking for them now. They're hiding in all the little, hiding in the windows.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah, we're logged in as Justin, and we've just moved. Well, I've just moved this weekend, so we're a little bit. But on Philippa's book, I will always remember coming out, and Kieran will know what I'm going to say now, because Philippa kept saying, come out and see us. And I said, I haven't got any money. And they said, you've got to come out. And Kieran said, you've got to come out. And so I came out, and Kieran had left a week earlier. We did have a wonderful time when we went out to stay on Bingo. And the one thing I remember quite vividly is, apart from all the general swimming to shore, drinking too much and having to swim back, which I do remember a lot of that happening.
I find that terrifying.
Is my ex-husband and Philippa's replacement, Kieran, who was a chap who's not with us any longer, called Chris Velvin, is it, Philippa?
Yeah, I was going to say Velcro, but that's what we
used to call him Velcro. He's a lovely chap, and the two of them going out sailing in the middle of the night on a dinghy, and then and we'd gone to bed because it had got quite late, and then them gloriously in the early hours of the morning trying to descale this rather fish that they'd managed to catch on the back deck in the middle of the night, and getting up to scales everywhere all over the back deck.
Yes, and they didn't clean it properly. It was very fishy smelling in the morning.
But no, it was marvellous. Yes.
Alison wants to know, I've got my little chat thing going on here. She'd like to know, Philippa, how do you feel the experience of owning the yacht changed you?
I don't know whether not to be constantly worrying even at night if your anchor drags or something like that. But that's just a general responsibility thing that you have. If you have a flat, if you have a car, if you have anything. But I think the most wonderful thing about it was just the sort of freedom, I suppose, of being retired. I mean, Chris and I still owned the business, so I had an income, and he was always encouraging me to go off and do these things. But really, for 2 years, I didn't have to do much in the business.
And so do you think that owning the boat was a very different feeling than just skippering a boat?
Definitely.
Tahira has gone. She said, Philippa, she's really looking forward to catching up for a coffee. Please bring a signed copy. I'm looking forward to a good read.
Okay.
And Judith has to go. Very glad to have been with you. Well done. Looking forward to reading the book when Kate's finished. And Mary, thanks for inviting us, and well done, Mary and Simon.
Can I say hello to Andrew, who is sitting there patiently? A Bridgewater Hall front of house steward, who I have worked with over the years. It's lovely to see you, Andrew.
And you. I look forward to reading the book.
Yes, anyway, lovely to see you. I'm so pleased you could come.
I think my sister Sam is trying to speak as well, but
yes.
Well, yeah. Dave and I came out to see Philippa in Beckway after she wasn't on the boat anymore, and I think the book glosses over the fact that we drank rum from about 11 o'clock in the morning to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we got a water taxi back, and because I'd been drinking rum and coke, and Philippa and Dave had been drinking just, then we went back to another bar, and we had a few more drinks, and then we were going to have a little snooze and go out for tea, but we just had a little snooze and all woke up at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Philippa, can you hear me? Trudy. It's Jane. My goodness, it's Jane. We have to hear from Jane.
Yes, I've been sitting through all of it. I've enjoyed it so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes. This is my first outing on one of these awful Zoom things. So I was too frightened to say anything. But your book is wonderful, and I've lent it to a friend, and she's equally thrilled with it. And I'm, as usual, in awe of you. You are amazing. And now I'm going to go, but I have enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for braving Zoom as well. Well done.
Yeah. Philippa helped me do it.
Jane, who lives in Richmond.
Oh, I missed her.
Yeah, no, she's been sitting there watching it.
Can we go back to Sam? I'm not sure if she's finished what she was saying.
No, Sam, I think there's loads more we need to hear.
It's another book.
It's a whole book about rum and coke.
So the only thing I was going to say is we went to a bar. And then we were supposed to go out for dinner, and we didn't, because we all had a little snooze and then woke up the next morning. And the taxi turned up and we didn't get up, and it went away and stuff. And both Dave and Philippa denied that we'd ever been to the bar. They absolutely, categorically refused to believe that we'd ever been to the bar. And I said, no, we've definitely been. Absolutely, neither of them agreed until, and this does show all of our ages, we got photos developed. And I could show pictures of us at the bar. I said, look, here we are at the bar. And they both went, we have no recollection of the bar. Yeah, but we were there.
I do think when they bring the film version out, there will be a lot of product placement in there from alcohol.
Probably find a sponsor.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, go on. It's been
The
lovely.
sun comes over the yardarm very early in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Well, Ted was there on the boat. Ted,
Yes.
you came out to the boat when you were on holiday by
We did
mistake.
indeed.
If
I was the
Kieran's
one-
still there, he can explain about how he went to get you at
Oh,
the
that
hotel.
was, yes. It was a magnificent situation. We were on holiday at a particularly nice, whatever you might call it, country club sort of place.
Grenada we were on.
Grenada were on, yes. And we were actually in the restaurant, and you had to dress for dinner, not bow tie, but certainly you couldn't wear swimming trunks or anything like that. And a tramp came straight up to our table, no shoes on, of a very brown-looking disposition, a T-shirt that was more oil than T-shirt, and said, "Oh, hi, Anne and Ted, I'm Kieran." I said, "Yes, I do know you, Kieran." He said, "Yeah, will you come on the boat tomorrow? Meet us at Prickly Pear Bay Harbour, and we'll come out and get you." and then just shuffled off again, leaving wet footmarks as he went out. And I know Kieran's online, and I'm sure he will remember it. And the next claim to fame was, Anne was the most sick person you've ever seen on that boat.
I was. I spoiled everything for everybody, didn't I? You had to turn back because I was so sick.
So, Kieran, you had a certain fashion sense, did you, while you were out there?
Yes, it was definitely, I don't think for a few months at a time you didn't wear any shoes whatsoever, shorts and a t-shirt, that was it. Salt in your hair, so it was always a bit manky. Yeah.
Great, such a picture.
It was lovely.
It sounds lovely, actually. It does sound lovely. I think everyone is dropping off to have dinner. Bye, everyone. Great to be with you, especially Philippa. Congratulations. Someone's calling you Jessie here, Philippa.
Yes, Jessie.
It's dinner calls. Lovely event. Congratulations, Jessie. I have to go away. I have to go as well, says Andrew. Congratulations. I look forward to reading it. Nice to see you again, Caroline, says Justin to Caroline, who's gone to rescue a roast. Congratulations on your launch, Philippa. Lovely to see you all. I really am grateful to you all for turning up, because I know we are all pretty zoomed out at the moment, but she just deserved, I don't know, she just deserved a drink and a party.
Well,
And
can I say thank you to Anne for organising this and for publishing the book and putting up with, I remember we had a conversation early on where you said you thought I was the age of you and Jill, and I had to enlighten you, and I wasn't. And I think at that point you probably thought, oh my God, I don't think I can cope with authors of that age, but I don't know.
I have to tell you, Philippa, that the two most lively writers in my writing community that I know at the moment, who not wear me out, but make me realise that you can be whatever you want to be for as long as you want to be it, are you and a lady called Margaret Crossley, who is 81, and she, by God, she's lived a life as well. So not at all. You fill me with hope, because I'm pushing 60 and thinking, oh God, I'm pushing 60, and then I meet you and think, so what? It's the start of it all, really, isn't it? Freedom.
Can I say something?
Margaret, do.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can.
Yes.
Could I just say, I'm a proud owner of the copy here. And when I opened it, I started to read it straight away, still standing up with the envelope. And I was absolutely sucked in right from the start. So I stopped at the end of the second chapter, and I thought, I know where this will do most good. Because, sorry to bring it back to me, I didn't really mean it like this, but I'm going into hospital to have a hip replacement next week. And I shall take this with me because I know it's just the most inspirational work that will make me want to get on with my life and get better and get up and going again, because it has that feel about it. So Philippa, many congratulations for a wonderful piece of work, but also thank you for making it my salvation next week.
Well,
thank you,
Margaret, and good luck for your operation, and let me know how it goes.
I will, but it's lovely. I've really enjoyed it tonight.
Well, I think we're down to 21 people now, so I think perhaps it's time to pull the plug, really, and I'm going to top this up with some cold out of the fridge. Well done, Philippa. It's been a real pleasure to meet you and to work with you. And yeah, never a dull moment. And you work so hard as well. You are an inspiration. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, Philippa.
Thank you.